Buff Nation, what's going on? Hope you guys are having a wonderful Friday, wonderful start to your weekend. For those of you who have your weekend coming up, really excited about this Colton Hood piece. But before I get started, and as y'all are smashing that like, want to let you know the film rooms are coming. Some exciting stuff. Have some stuff coming up for Shador Sanders this weekend. I think it's going to be more so somebody on the offensive line that I think you guys will find really interesting, really fun. Later on, we'll take a look at Nakai Hill Green as well. But let's go ahead and get to it. Scott Proctor of the Coloradan, he has been putting out some fantastic content and articles around the Buffs. Featured him a few weeks ago, and I wanted to highlight and bring to light his article that he had recently on Colton Hood. I thought it was really phenomenal. So y'all be sure. I'll link his Twitter and this article in the description. Please go follow him. Pay attention to what he's doing because especially with a lot of the press and the different angles and stuff like that you see in the media with that take with this team that are ridiculous all the time. Scott Proctor is one of those guys that's a no nonsense guy, and I feel like he's putting out a lot of good, level headed, quality content. So let's go ahead and get started. And this was some interesting stuff here in the article regarding Colton Hood about how highly prized he was at Auburn after his first season there and the role that we can expect him to play. I'm expecting Travis Hunter and Preston Hodge to play a lot of the snaps this year, but outside of that, who's going to be that number 3 corner? Or that number 2, rather, on the outside, depending on where Preston Hodge is. That very well could be somebody like DJ McKinney, who played a lot last year as a redshirt freshman, or, redshirt freshman, I believe. Or we could have Colton Hood coming in here in his second year playing for the Buffs at that cornerback 2 role on the outside. And let's just go ahead and get into it. I wanted to highlight some of the things here that Colton Hood spoke about the program that I thought were really interesting and noteworthy, and see what some of the other analysts like at On3 were saying about him. So really interesting. Again, if you don't know too much about Colton Hood, was a true freshman last year. So DJ McKinney, redshirt sophomore going into this year. Colton Hood is going to be a redshirt freshman this year, if I remember. So has plenty of eligibility left right there with Isaiah Harge. But 6 feet, 195 pounds, worked his way up the depth chart and was expected to be a significant contributor to Auburn secondary this fall. When Hood entered the transfer portal April 23rd, he became arguably the most impactful departure for Auburn due to his high upside. Okay. That's something that I love to hear. I think that even though some of the off the field stuff or some of the stuff that Cormani during his time here at Colorado was trying to get figured out and just couldn't, there was no doubt that we were very excited about having him come to Colorado, be a part of this room because of the upside and potential that he has. And I think it's worth noting that somebody like Colton Hood is spoken in that same way, being a high upside type of guy. I had a really good spring at Auburn. I was actually in the starting rotation this spring at corner. I got the confidence last season. I just pushed it over to spring ball, and I was just playing really good ball. That's wonderful. On 3, their recruiting analyst, Philip Dukes, actually said that he believes that Hood was slated for a major role at Auburn in 2024. Guys, remember, this is a corner in the SEC that was expected to play a major role for a team. Okay. He said Colton Hood is a sleeper. He was going to be the 3rd cornerback at Auburn, and a lot of people thought he should have been starting over some really good talent. Auburn has 2 NFL corners, and he was right there in that mix. Very interesting. And I would say that depending on how Preston Hodge plays this year, he very well could find himself being an NFL caliber player as well. And I would imagine that he's going to be right at the top of the mix here at CU. This is interesting, though. On 3, Philip Dukes saying this. He probably had the best spring of any defensive back at Auburn. Not talking about just corners. We're talking about nickels. We're talking about safeties. Had the best spring at Auburn. Okay? So why leave guaranteed playing time at an SEC program? Because of the culture, to play alongside family. He's got his younger brother, Brandon Hood, here. Trent Hood coming over here as a linebacker / running back. We'll see what role they have him playing. I believe Trent is his cousin, if I remember correctly. But coming out here, again, all Eagles Landing Christian Academy players at one point or another throughout their high school career. You know Pastor Dewey loves it. Pastor Dewey Smith loves it. Yeah, so yes, their cousin committed to the Buffs nearly 3 weeks later. I wanted to play with my brothers, Brendan and Trent. That was a really big thing for me. We've always dreamed of growing up, playing on the same college team. When that opportunity presented itself, I couldn't pass that up. Okay. And now we got 6 sets of brothers. You guys have highlighted this throughout the whole offseason. It's been great. This is one of the things that I love about college football. Brandon and Colton Hood, Caleb and Cole Mathis. Cole's now here. Chidoze and Chijoke Nwankwo. Shador and Shiloh Sanders, Jalen and LaJonte Wester, and Dustin and Keaton Wade. Colton has only been in Boulder since May 22, but says the family atmosphere within the program is real. And this is the last thing that I wanted to highlight that I thought spoke really well of the culture. I know a lot of people on the internet talk about how we're all transfers and how we're not going to be tight and close knit. But when I came in, I felt welcomed by all the guys. We all bond, the DB room, the receivers, everybody's been great, and it's been a great experience so far. And again, give Coach Prime time to lay the foundation. I think we've upgraded pretty much everywhere. I think we've upgraded with leadership. I think we've upgraded with coaching. I think we've upgraded with our talent. I think we've upgraded with our athleticism. And hopefully we really won't be able to see this and I guess some of the stuff until the season hits. But my hope is that we've upgraded in terms of our level of discipline as well. I think that's one of the biggest things that's in our control on if we have a very successful year or not. It's our discipline. Okay. But I love to hear this, that again, when guys are coming here, they fully know what they're coming into. You're not going to have this divide anymore of guys who were previous regime and then being brought in by the current one. You don't have that anymore. I think you're going to see this team play much more together and for each other because of that, just like it is with any coaching change. Lastly, I love this. Okay. I can play press, playoff, let me start that over again. I can do it all, Colton said. I can play press, play off, play zone, and I can play offense too at a high level. I've been playing offense my whole life, so just knowing what the QB is looking at and what he's reading before play really helps me in my IQ, and I agree. And I think that's one of the best things about recruiting guys who have played 2 ways or even played in all 3 phases of the game is that they think about things a little bit more deeply, in my opinion. And I think it does benefit them in whatever position they really settle into outside of like Travis Hunter, right? So I'm really excited to see what he can do. I know that we've seen this little play here that you've probably seen on Twitter a little bit. Let me go ahead and edit this a little bit so you guys can see this a little bit better. Just his coverage going against Omarion Miller right here, I thought was really great. So why don't we just run that? And again, guys, and credit to Bucky Well Off Media for this. And I want to know who is throwing these passes because you would like to see this pass thrown right now, right? But it comes way late. Colton Hood, look at him get his arm in there, okay? Get his hand in there, break that thing up, okay? So if you're giving up leverage like that, if the wide receiver runs a good route, has some leverage, it's always great to see Colton Hood be able to fight back towards the ball and then break that up. And then you see on this route right here, again, his makeup distance right here against Omari Miller is really great, and he's able to get his hand in there. So shows great coordination, timing, understanding where his body needs to be Again, I do want to know who's throwing these passes. I don't think it was Shador. Y'all let me know who it was if you guys know. But I thought, we don't have much clips to go off of, but I think that there's a lot to be excited for with Colton Hood, not only with his ability, highly recruited guy, a guy pretty prized in the portal, but also to hear what's said about him by college football experts. Okay. And again, we should not take it lightly that somebody like Philip Dukes from On3, a recruiting specialist, is saying this guy is he's legitimate. He was going to be a very good player at Auburn this year, and he was their biggest loss in the portal. That needs to be understood, that we're getting a very good player from Auburn. Again, we're not getting somebody in terms of the recruiting class this year. We're getting a lot more high upside guys through the transfer portal rather than guys who, they're just coming up from G5 and we just got to see what they can do, right? The type of player that we're bringing in for the most part is looking a lot different. And I'm always going to love the fact that we're bringing in corners 6 feet and above. It's wonderful. You can't teach size, right? So y'all let me know what you think. What are your expectations for Colton Hood? I would expect that him and McKinney are going to be battling it out for that main outside position. If Preston Hodge is going to mainly play slot, we'll have to see. But I think regardless of whether he's the starting guy or the first guy off the bench, I think we're going to see a lot of Colton Hood, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him make some big time impactful plays for the Buffs this season. So y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. Smash that subscribe again. I got some fun film rooms coming for y'all this weekend. Hope you guys are having a great day.